Madison Prescott entered Judge Judy's courtroom the same way celebrities walk onto Hollywood red carpets, confident, careless, and completely convinced the rules didn't apply to her. At only 19 years old, the daughter of billionaire tech mogul Richard Prescott had spent her entire life protected by money, status, and influence. Her father's Silicon Valley empire was worth billions, and Madison carried herself like someone who believed that fortune made her untouchable. Everything about her appearance screamed privilege. A luxury Chanel purse hung from her wrist like it was nothing. Designer heels echoed across the courtroom floor with every arrogant step she took. Expensive jewelry sparkled each time she waved her hand dismissively at someone speaking to her. But the reason people instantly disliked Madison had nothing to do with the thousands of dollars wrapped around her body. It was the expression on her face, that smug little smile that told everyone she fully expected to leave without consequences, just like every other time before. The reason Madison found herself standing in Judge Judy's courtroom had already exploded across the internet weeks earlier. What began as a reckless car accident had transformed into a national outrage after millions of people saw exactly how cruel a wealthy young woman could be. 3 weeks before the hearing, Madison had been speeding through a grocery store parking lot in her brand new Range Rover while texting on her phone and fixing her makeup at the same time. In seconds, she slammed into a parked Honda Civic belonging to Jessica Rodriguez, a hard-working 42-year-old single mother who spent nearly every waking hour trying to provide a better life for her daughter. Sophia, Jessica worked 2 exhausting jobs, one during the day as a grocery cashier and another cleaning office buildings at night. Every dollar she earned went toward bills, food, and saving for Sophia's education. The crash didn't only destroy her old vehicle, it shattered the fragile stability she had spent years building. Jessica missed several days of work because of the accident, losing money she desperately needed to survive. Without transportation, Sophia missed a life-changing scholarship interview at Stanford University, an opportunity that could have paid for her entire college future. But what truly shocked people wasn't the accident itself. It was Madison's reaction afterward. Instead of apologizing, she laughed. As Jessica stood crying beside her ruined car, Madison pulled out her phone and began taking pictures of her like it was entertainment. Then she uploaded the photos to Instagram with a caption that instantly enraged thousands of people online. Just ruined some peasant's day. Sorry, not sorry. Rich girl problems. She added laughing emojis and hashtags as if another human being's suffering was nothing more than social media content for her followers. When insurance investigators became involved, Madison lied. She claimed Jessica's car had already been damaged and insisted the accident barely happened. Just like always, her father's expensive attorneys stepped in, trying to make the entire situation disappear quietly with money. But Jessica Rodriguez didn't want hush money. She wanted justice. And somehow, the case landed in front of Judge Judy, a woman famous for destroying arrogance and exposing people who believed wealth placed them above accountability. Madison entered the courtroom that afternoon, wearing AirPods and carrying a giant iced coffee, like she was walking into a shopping mall instead of a legal hearing. She barely acknowledged the bailiff. She didn't even bother looking up when Judge Judy entered the room. She strutted toward the defendant's table with the attitude of someone irritated by an inconvenience rather than someone facing serious accusations. What Madison didn't realize was that Jessica Rodriguez had brought evidence capable of destroying every lie she had told. Inside Jessica's purse was dashcam footage from another vehicle parked nearby during the crash. The video captured everything. Madison speeding recklessly through the parking lot, swerving between cars while texting and applying lipstick, and worst of all, her behavior after the collision. That footage would become the moment her entire world collapsed. But at that moment, Madison still sat there smiling confidently, believing her father's wealth would rescue her once again. Judge Judy had already reviewed Madison's history before court even began. She saw reports of previous accidents, thousands of dollars in damages quietly erased by lawyers and settlements. She saw the cruel social media posts and recognized a dangerous pattern, a young woman who had never once been forced to face real consequences. Judge Judy already knew exactly what kind of lesson Madison Prescott needed. The bailiff announced the case loudly across the courtroom. The people of the state of California versus Madison Elizabeth Prescott. Madison barely looked up from her phone screen. Judge Judy immediately noticed everything about her behavior. The sunglasses indoors, the phone glued to her hand, the careless body language, the complete disrespect. Over decades in court, Judge Judy had seen every kind of entitled defendant imaginable. But something about Madison felt worse. This wasn't ordinary immaturity. This was someone who truly believed rules only existed for ordinary people. Madison dropped into her chair dramatically, adjusted her designer handbag, and immediately pulled out a compact mirror to check her makeup. Even the courtroom staff looked stunned by the disrespect. Judge Judy slowly removed her glasses. Anyone familiar with her courtroom knew exactly what that meant. Miss Prescott, Judge Judy said calmly, put away the phone and the mirror. This is a courtroom, not a fashion shoot. Madison barely reacted. Yeah, okay, she muttered. Can we make this fast? I have a spa appointment later. Gasps spread across the room. Even Madison's own attorney looked horrified. Judge Judy leaned forward, her expression hardening instantly. In this courtroom, you will address me as Your Honor, and you will show respect while facing the consequences of your actions. Madison shrugged carelessly. Sure, whatever. Can we just get to the fine so I can leave? Judge Judy recognized the behavior immediately. This wasn't nervousness. It was arrogance learned from a lifetime of escaping punishment. Judge Judy explained the charges: reckless driving, property destruction, leaving the scene, and filing false insurance claims. Madison laughed openly. Jail? Time? Seriously? My dad's lawyer already said this would probably disappear. The cruelty in her voice became impossible to ignore. Judge Judy glanced toward Jessica Rodriguez, who sat quietly in her work uniform, exhausted and emotionally drained. Beside her sat Sophia, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Meanwhile, Madison sat scrolling through Instagram. Judge Judy warned her again about the phone. Madison looked offended. You can't take my phone. It costs $2,400. Judge Judy's voice turned ice cold. I don't care if it costs $24 million. Put it away now. Reluctantly, Madison shoved the phone into her designer bag while glaring angrily. Then Jessica Rodriguez took the stand. Shaking with emotion, she described the crash, the terrifying sound of screeching tires, the violent impact, and the devastation that followed. She explained how Madison laughed while taking pictures of her crying beside her destroyed vehicle. She told me I should thank her, Jessica said through tears. She said my car was embarrassing. The courtroom fell silent. Throughout Jessica's testimony, Madison looked bored. She checked her nails, yawned dramatically, and rolled her eyes repeatedly. When Jessica explained that Sophia had missed the Stanford scholarship interview because they no longer had transportation, Madison quietly muttered, 3 words under her breath. Not my problem. The courtroom microphones captured everything. Judge Judy's expression darkened immediately. Then came the question that changed everything. "Miss Rodriguez," Judge Judy asked gently, "can you explain how this affected your family financially?" Jessica described the lost wages, the endless bus rides, the exhaustion, and Sophia's shattered opportunity. While Jessica cried, Madison's phone buzzed again. Without hesitation, she reached for it. Judge Judy stood up. The entire courtroom froze. "Miss Prescott," she said sharply, "do you understand this woman works 65 hours every week to support her daughter?" Madison shrugged again. "That's her choice. Nobody forced her to have a kid she couldn't afford." The courtroom erupted with shock. Judge Judy raised her hand for silence. Then she asked the question that would define Madison's life forever. "Do you take responsibility for any of this?" Madison leaned back confidently.
Honestly, no.
"That car was ancient anyway. I probably did her a favor." Then she delivered the line that would go viral across the entire world. "If she can't afford a better car, maybe she should have made better life choices. That's not my problem." The eye roll afterward became one of the most replayed courtroom clips in internet history. For 10 long seconds, the courtroom sat completely silent. Judge Judy slowly removed her glasses and placed them carefully on the bench. "Miss Prescott," she said quietly, "stand up." Madison obeyed slowly, still not understanding the disaster unfolding around her. Judge Judy stepped closer. "You just made the biggest mistake of your privileged life." The fury in her voice shook the entire courtroom. "You mocked a hard-working mother for being poor. You destroyed her livelihood, damaged her daughter's future, and showed absolutely no remorse." Madison's confidence finally began to crack. Then Judge Judy ordered the evidence to be shown. The dashcam footage appeared on the courtroom monitor. Everyone watched Madison speeding dangerously through the parking lot while texting and applying makeup. The video captured the violent collision clearly, but the worst part came afterward. The footage showed Madison laughing beside Jessica's destroyed car, taking selfies while Jessica cried nearby. "Oh my God, this is hilarious," Madison's voice said clearly in the recording. The courtroom sat frozen in disbelief. Judge Judy then began reading Madison's social media posts aloud. "Just ruined some peasant's day. Poor people are so dramatic. My dad's lawyers are handling some nonsense with a nobody." Each sentence sounded uglier than the last. Madison finally looked terrified. "I want my dad's lawyer," she whispered desperately. Judge Judy didn't flinch. "Your father's money cannot save you here." Then came the sentence. Madison was ordered to personally pay over $15,000 in damages and court costs, money she had to earn herself. Her driver's license was suspended for 18 months. She was sentenced to hundreds of hours of community service at the DMV. Madison burst into tears. "The bus? You want me riding the bus?" Judge Judy stared directly at her. "The same way millions of hardworking Americans travel every day." But Judge Judy still wasn't finished, because Madison had humiliated Jessica publicly online. Judge Judy ordered her to post a public apology video across every social media platform she owned. The apology would remain online for 2 years. Comments could not be disabled. Jessica's response would remain pinned at the top. Madison collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Then Judge Judy addressed Richard Prescott directly. To everyone's shock, Madison's father agreed with the punishment completely. "I failed my daughter," he admitted quietly. "She needs consequences." Madison screamed in disbelief, but for the first time in her life, nobody rescued her. Then Jessica Rodriguez stood and delivered words that stunned the courtroom. "I don't want revenge," she said softly. "I just want her to understand that poor people are human beings too." For the first time all day, Madison finally looked ashamed. Judge Judy ended the hearing with words that would later spread across the internet everywhere. "Consequences are not cruelty. Sometimes they are the only path toward becoming a better person." Within hours, clips from the hearing exploded online. Millions watched the moment entitlement finally met accountability. Days later, Madison posted her apology video. Gone were the designer clothes and arrogant attitude. She sat alone, crying honestly as she admitted everything she had done. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Madison changed. She worked minimum wage jobs. She completed her community service without complaining. She sold luxury items to repay the court order herself. Most importantly, she spent time with Jessica Rodriguez and finally saw what real struggle looked like. Eventually, Madison helped create a scholarship fund for children of single parents. Sofia Rodriguez became the first recipient. The same girl who once mocked poor people now dedicated her life to helping them. Years later, Judge Judy would describe the case as one of the most important lessons she had ever delivered, not because it punished someone wealthy, but because it proved accountability can completely transform a person when they're finally forced to face the truth about who they've become.